Tonight, we turn our attention to North Africa, where a wave of mass protests has erupted in the Kingdom of Morocco, sending a strong and fiery message to the international community. Tens of thousands of Moroccans have taken to the streets, not just in solidarity with Gaza, but in condemnation of what they describe as a brutal war, an ongoing tragedy, and a political betrayal. This is more than just a protest. It's a resounding cry for justice, echoing across the Arab world. This past Sunday, the capital city of Rabat saw one of the largest demonstrations in months. Streets that typically buzz with daily life were flooded instead with impassioned crowds, chanting, waving banners, and demanding action. Israeli flags were trampled underfoot. Portraits of assassinated Hamas leaders were hoisted high, and in an especially symbolic gesture, posters combined images of displaced Palestinians with U.S. President Donald Trump, an image that speaks volumes about how these protesters view American involvement in the war on Gaza. Organized by a broad coalition of political and civil society groups, the protests were peaceful but powerful. Among the crowd were families, students, scholars, and religious leaders, many holding signs with powerful slogans: "Free Palestine," "No to normalization," and "Stop the war crimes." The demonstrators denounced Israel's military campaign in Gaza, which, according to Palestinian authorities, has resulted in over 50,700 deaths and more than 115,300 injuries since the war began, numbers that continue to climb. The immediate trigger for this fresh wave of outrage? A ceasefire shattered by intense Israeli air and ground assaults last month. More than 1,000 Palestinians have died in this renewed offensive, and once again, hundreds of thousands have been displaced, pushed further into a humanitarian abyss. But this is not an isolated event. The Moroccan protests are part of a broader, cross-regional movement. Pro-Palestinian rallies have flared in cities across Tunisia, Yemen, and Morocco's own economic capital, Casablanca. From the Maghreb to the Gulf, the streets of the Arab world are sending a unified message. The people will not be silent in the face of what many are calling a genocide and ethnic cleansing. While Israel remains the main target of anger, the United States, particularly under Donald Trump's leadership, is facing growing fury in the region. Trump's controversial proposal to forcibly relocate Palestinians to make way for redevelopment in Gaza has sparked outrage, with rights groups slamming it as an attempt at ethnic cleansing. In Rabat, anti-American sentiment was palpable. Protesters condemned not only Trump's proposal, but also the broader U.S. foreign policy approach, accusing the country of enabling war crimes and silencing pro-Palestinian voices. University campuses in the U.S. have become battlegrounds, with pro-Palestinian activism often meeting institutional pushback. The Moroccan public has taken notice. Mohamed Toussi, who traveled from Casablanca with his family to protest, summed up a common sentiment. He said, quote, "Biden hid some things, but Trump has shown it all." The message is clear. While the faces change, the policies, many argue, remain the same. One issue at the heart of the Moroccan protests is the country's decision to normalize relations with Israel. In 2020, Morocco joined the Abraham Accords, a Trump-era initiative that saw several Arab states, including the UAE, Bahrain, and Sudan, normalize ties with Israel in exchange for diplomatic and financial incentives. At the time, the move was met with fierce resistance by many in Morocco. Today, that resistance has only intensified. Demonstrators see normalization not as a step toward peace, but as complicity in oppression. The Moroccan government, while tolerating most demonstrations, has not hesitated to arrest activists accused of targeting foreign embassies or linking their criticism to the monarchy, a sensitive red line. But that hasn't stopped public outrage from swelling. Protesters are now calling for the reversal of the Abraham Accords and a renewed commitment to Palestinian self-determination. The Morocco protests are emblematic of a deeper, more structural issue: the enduring chasm between government policy and public opinion in the Arab world. Across the region, Arab populations have consistently shown overwhelming support for the Palestinian cause, even as their governments strike deals with Israel under pressure from Western powers. The war in Gaza is now in its 18th month, And it's more than a geopolitical crisis. It's a humanitarian catastrophe. Hospitals have been bombed, UN shelters destroyed, and basic services like water and electricity are nearly non-existent in many parts of Gaza. Aid organizations have warned of famine, mass disease, and the total collapse of civil society. In this context, the Moroccan protests are not just about foreign policy. They're a cry against injustice, a demand for dignity, and a rejection of what many see as international hypocrisy. As the dust settles on Rabat streets and the chants fade into the night, one thing is clear: the people of Morocco, and millions more across the region, are not turning away from Gaza. Their message to the world is as clear as it is urgent. Stop the war, end the suffering, and stand for justice. From the rising generation in Moroccan cities to displaced families in Gaza, voices long ignored are now impossible to silence. This isn't just about politics, it's about humanity. Thank you for joining us tonight. For continuing coverage of the Middle East crisis and the global response, stay with us here on Daily Post Africa.